Monarchs, this is Mrs. Dutro, and today we are going to talk about analysis and synthesis. So your essential question for today is, how can I use analysis and synthesis to deepen my understanding of a text? Now, the first thing you need to know is that analysis involves taking things apart and synthesis involves putting things back together again. So that's essentially the biggest thing I need you to take away from this presentation. So here's a quick demonstration. To start out, we have analysis. And analysis is essentially a detailed examination of the elements or structure of something. And so if you take a look at this piece of paper that I have, you can see that this sheet of paper, when all the pieces are put together, it creates just a regular 8.5 by 11 inch sheet of paper that just happens to be purple. Now, to analyze something, that is where I'm going to take a look at the different elements of this paper. So you could look at this particular shape. This is a triangle. It has 3 sides to it. This triangle looks like it might be a right triangle. So I'm taking a look at the different parts of this specific triangle, this one piece of this paper. And I might also analyze this piece as well. I might compare this triangle here to this triangle to see if they are the same or if they are different. I might also take a look at how these other pieces are, and I'm just going to look at this piece by itself outside of the context of the entire paper. That is analysis, breaking something apart and looking at the individual pieces. Now, for synthesis, that is where we take these things that we've pulled apart and we put them back together. However, when we put them together for synthesis, we don't necessarily put them back together the same way. So I might decide to synthesize these pages, these pieces, to create something new by perhaps putting them together in a fun, new way. And in doing that, I am creating an interesting new thing that other people may enjoy or appreciate. You can also synthesize things that are outside of the original piece. So may not necessarily be synthesizing the different pieces from this one piece of paper. I might pull in different items from different places in order to better synthesize my ideas, in order to better put them together to create something brand new. And that is how analysis and synthesis work together to create something new. You might be thinking, but why do you still make us do this, Mrs. Dutro? Well, that's because analysis and synthesis are critical life skills. And they don't just teach you how to think about a text, but they also teach you how to think about life in general. So analysis is a detailed examination of the elements or structure of something. Remember, analysis is when we break something apart. So when working with a text, we actively seek out passages or quotations that relate to a specific idea or that help to achieve a specific purpose. And so we might look for things like abstract concepts, literary devices, and structural elements. So the key is to just focus on one thing while you read. Try not to focus on abstract concepts and literary devices at first. Try just focusing on abstract concepts or just literary devices. And in this class, the thing that you focus on is going to be based on the essential question that I give you for that part of the text. So you are completing analysis when you find evidence from a text, or when you explain that evidence from the text, when you examine something, or when you compare or contrast two different things, and when you explain how an author uses different literary elements, and when you explore an essential question. In this class, we usually use analysis to identify the how of things. So if you're looking at how something is done, that is usually analysis. Synthesis is the combination of ideas to form a theory or system. So remember, synthesis is that idea of pulling from different places and putting them back together. So when we are working with a text, we use synthesis after we've analyzed the text, and we synthesize when we take different pieces from our analysis and we put them back together again to generate a new idea. But we also synthesize when we explain how the individual pieces work together to create the whole. So you're completing synthesis when you generate a new conclusion based on your analysis, when you combine what you've learned from multiple sources, when you write a thematic statement about a text, when you write a thesis statement for an essay, when you answer an essential question, and when you create something new using what you've learned. So essentially, we use synthesis to identify the why. Why is this working? So think of analysis as the how and synthesis as the why. So first we analyze, then we synthesize. Synthesis cannot happen without analysis. So in this class, we use analysis and synthesis with dialectical journals, and we use analysis when you're looking for the quotations and when writing the explanation for each quotation, and you use synthesis when summarizing your findings in a paragraph to answer that essential question. We also use them with Socratic seminars, and that's because Socratic seminars require varying amounts of analysis and synthesis depending on the conversation and depending on the people and the topic and the text and everything. So ideally, during a Socratic seminar discussion, you will flow from analysis to synthesis to analysis to synthesis multiple times throughout the discussion. It's a very cyclical process during Socratic seminar. And then in timed writings, the introduction and conclusion require you to synthesize your ideas, especially in the thesis statement. And the body paragraphs tend to be much more focused on analysis, since these involve breaking down the text to support your synthesized ideas. So analysis is often used as support for synthesis, and that's because we can't get to the synthesis without first doing the analysis. So the bottom line is, the next time you're struggling with a synthesis activity, it's probably because you need to do more analysis. So remember, analysis is breaking the text apart and looking at and inspecting each of these individual pieces of the text. Synthesis is putting it all back together again and coming up with a new idea or understanding how those things all work together to create the whole. And that's all I have for you for today. If you have any questions, you can email me at kelly.dutro@aps.edu. And I hope you have a wonderful week, Monarchs.